Okay, we are here today to have a little think about drop, which is a very important behaviour that we teach our dogs when we need them to let go of something that's in their mouth. So it's different to leave it, which means don't touch that thing, it's not yours. It's very specifically designed to really build up your dog's ability to release, to open the mouth and let go of whatever it is they're holding, which for some individuals, dependent on their breed, their personality, their internal drives, can be very, very difficult. And if you own a dog that you maybe already are a little bit aware that they might find letting go of things difficult, you know, they love to carry stuff, they're picking things up wherever they go, it's important to note that that's who you own, that's the character of the individual that you own. And for some dogs, they actually feel calmer when they've got things in their mouth. So that being said, you need to make sure if you own an individual like that, that you give them loads of access to things that they are allowed to carry, that they can hold, that's safe to carry, and that we don't mind, if they then want to tear an ear off of it or whatever it might be, it's absolutely fine to do that. So that way they've got a good outlet for those high internal drives, and it will make it slightly easier when we then ask them to drop other things potentially. So the first exercise that I'm going to talk to you about today is a more formal exercise, and it's something that you can practice to build appropriate play and interaction with your dogs, but also to just routinely get them really used to releasing things out of their mouth. Now, whenever your dog is holding something, it's very important that you don't just take it away. Resource guarding of items, so where a dog might snarl or growl, or even snap or bite because because you're trying to take something from them, is something that's quite common. We're seeing a lot of it at the moment. It certainly will be more highly driven in individuals that are adolescents, so between sort of 8 and 18 months of age. But also it's something that is driven from a young age if we just continuously take things off of a dog. Now, once they're holding it in their mouth, in their mind, that's theirs. They own that item. And if we just take it off them over and over again, even if they let you, a little bit of a fear of loss of stuff that they're holding starts to grow. And that can grow to quite great lengths for some dogs, and that's when you get resource guarding, you're growling and you're snarling and you're snapping and you're biting. So we need to make sure that we break down that fear of loss, and we teach our dogs that we will always exchange. And this first formal exercise is something that you can just start to engage them with at home, just for day-to-day toys that they're allowed access to. You want to keep it low-value toys to begin with, and what we do is we engage them in play with a toy. Whilst they're tugging with that toy, we then present an exchange item. So that could be a piece of food, or it could be another toy. And provided the item we're asking to exchange for is good enough, your dog will release the item in their mouth, which provides us with an opportunity to install a nice clear drop cue and then reinforce them letting go by giving them that exchange item. So I'm going to have a little go with Penny just to show you how it works. And it's important to make sure that this is really very much a game and it's non-conflictual with your dog. You don't want to create a conflict through toys or food in any way, shape or form. And we want to make sure that they're just happy to let you take stuff, and that's cool. And they know they're always going to get something in return, so we don't see that fear of loss building. So I've got a really boring toy here. Now, Penny's never really played with before, so it is a bit novel. So I'm just engaging her with a bit of a tug game, which Penny loves. And she's already seen me go to my treat pouch. Well done, lovely. And then we go again. So get her chasing. Very, very gentle on my end. I'm just moving it around. And then I'm going to show her a treat. Drop. Good girl. And there's one here. And then I let her take that treat in exchange for the item. And then we're going to go again. Get her chasing the toy. And we're having a good old play. Drop. Good. So as soon as she sees the exchange item, she's letting go. This is something that I've practiced. And so as soon as she is letting go, I'm saying the word drop, and I'm giving her that exchange so that she is motivated to do it again next time. I'm then going straight back to playing. So I'm not then removing this forever. This isn't a pair of socks that she's never going to be allowed to play with again. It's something that I can give straight back to her, so it helps keep that game going. Ready, Pen? So get her chasing. She's holding it in her mouth. Drop. Good. And then I give her the exchange. So that's your starting point, just to start teaching them that the word drop means we're going to exchange their item for something else. Now, if your dog's not very food motivated, you may have to look for something very high value food-wise, like fresh chicken, possibly sausage, as long as it doesn't upset your dog's tummy. Anko do some great pâtés, which are soft and very meaty, that you can use. But you might have to really search for something that's going to work for your dog. Or you can look at a possible alternative toy. Pen, what's this? Ready, ready, ready. Come on then. Come on then. So we're into our game again. She's into that game. Holding it in her mouth. Drop. Good girl. And then I exchange onto this toy. So this is our high value toy, the one I've just presented. This is her favourite one. But I do also have a third one. Drop. Good. So we can just keep exchanging through all of the toys. Now this one is our very special toy. Good drop. So I know that she will more than likely drop anything for this toy. And part of the training sometimes is just working out what your dog's preferences are. You know, what's their favourite food, what's their second favourite food, what's their favourite toy, what's their second favourite toy. So now we don't want to drop for this toy, because the one she's got's too good. That's okay, that's her choice at the end of the day. So instead we're going to go for drop a piece of food. Good girl. And then I can tuck those away for a sec. Good girl, good girl. So starting out just through game playing, just to really help your dogs understand how that drop works, that you're not going to suddenly remove everything from them, that it's just a constant exchange, is just your first place to start. But for some dogs that might already be a little bit guardy with items, they might steal things that they know you want back. It could be an attention-seeking behaviour, it could be a separation-related problem, it could just be because your dog's at that age where they just don't want to let go of anything, and they're also into everything. But if we are seeing a dog that becomes very stiff when you approach them, if they've got something, whether it's one of their own toys or something they're not allowed, or if you're seeing lip curling where they bare the teeth a little bit, or snarling or growling, sometimes we have to take a slightly different approach to start with. This game that we've just shown you is very important, but you might find that you actually have to start even more simplified than that with your drop cue. So one game that's very useful for teaching a dog that the word drop is a positive, and that the word drop is associated with them quickly looking to the floor to do some foraging, is a really good way to start. And we do that without the dog actually holding anything in their mouth. So with some food that they like, you know, if they like their dried dinner and their dry kibble fed, you can start just with that. I've got the usual treats that I use for Penny, which she really likes. And you start out by just a good 3 to 5 treats in your hand. When you're ready, you say the word drop or your drop cue and scatter the food. Drop! So they hear the word and immediately go to forage. You're not asking them at this point to do anything. Drop! And I want her to really sniff around, you've missed one, so that she can look for that food and try to find it. Now, I don't want her watching my hands too much because I want her to listen to my voice. Drop! And what we're doing is we're building up an association with the word drop, you've missed one, the word drop, and putting their nose to the ground and searching for something yummy. Drop! We're doing this when they're not holding something that's too high value, so that we haven't got that fear of loss started in any way. And it's real classical conditioning at this point, because if we've got a good level of understanding that the word drop means don't worry about what you're holding. If you are holding anything, just get that nose down and search. It's much easier for us to start to teach them to let go of higher value things if that's something your dog struggles with. Drop. Now, I'm not moving around too much, otherwise I go out of camera shots and you won't be able to see me anymore. But it's a good idea to do this all around the home. Drop. I'm using my left hand and my right hand at various times so that Penny doesn't just expect it from a certain part of me or a certain side of me. I want to make sure she's not just watching my hands. Oh, that's a nice down. Drop. And I might even do this when I'm carrying a washing basket. Just play this drop game. Drop. I might just randomly pick things up around the house. I might carry my coat. I might carry my handbag. But it's about trying to add context variation to it so that whenever your dog hears the word drop, they're not thinking, oh goodness, my owner's going to take something that I find valuable away from me. That's what drives the fear of loss. Instead, they're thinking, oh, what can I find? And that foraging action in itself is very calming to the dog. So if your dog is a little bit guardy about items, doesn't want to let them go, is worried about losing them, associating your drop cue with this calming activity of just foraging for a few bits of food off the floor really starts to change the emotional context for the dog as well. So it's very, very important. So we've got that formal, I'll hold this end, you hold that end, then we'll exchange your end for something game where we're building that drop cue. And then we've also got the idea that we're just associating the word drop, good girl, the word drop with a fun and quick forage on the floor for something delicious. And that way we can really start to get our drops off the ground. So the other thing that's just important to note, if your dog has stolen something that they're not allowed to have, I mean Penny is allowed this, so if she's stolen, you don't want to pick it up. If she's stolen it and she knows that she's not allowed to have it because it's not something that's been given to her, sometimes you don't want to go in with your hands to the situation to try and exchange, because that's very conflictual to the dog and it can cause an increase in guarding behaviour from them. So if your dog is scurrying around the house with a pair of socks that they've pinched out the washing basket and they know that you want them back, and maybe we've got a history where we've chased them possibly to get them back previously, actually the counting game is a great way to just redivert attention to an alternative activity that involves them having to put that item down. So if Penny was hurrying around this room with a pair of socks I know she isn't allowed, I wouldn't want to go and forcefully take them from her. I might be worried that if I offer her a treat at close quarters, she might get more tense and more scared. So instead what I can do is a game called the counting game, where we just teach our dogs that when we count, there's something great on offer. And it goes a bit like this. 1. 1. So Penny's really engaged, so I'm not going to get past number 1 today. Let's cast her out a little bit. Ready? Go there. So we might go 1, 2, and we keep counting up to the count of 5. And if the dog has come over to eat what we've put on the floor, put a treat down with every number. We allow them to eat and we stop counting. If they haven't come over before we get to 5, we pick that food up and then we move on to a new spot. Ready? 1. So Penny's got itchy feet at the moment. 2. So I'm trying to use this counting game. 3. But I think she's too involved. 4. 5. So I had a bit of a cheat there, only because I don't want her chewing her feet today. Do we, my love? So I'm going to cast her out again. 1, 2. And then if she gets there by 2, she gets those 2 and we just have another go. So if you practice this counting game and our drop game, and we practice formal drops, we should start to be able to disengage our dogs from an item that they're holding and re-engage them with an activity that we are doing much more easily. And that's essentially what we need to be able to do. There's just one last little thing that I think it's important we think about. Again, just going back to the scenario, if your dog might be a little bit more worried about letting go of things, if it's stealing items from around the home, it might be trying to chew them or eat them, or just doesn't want to give them up and might get a bit grumpy about it. If they're holding that item and we don't want to go close and formally present an exchange item to them, because that would be conflictual, sometimes just having some food and or toys, this can be done with toys if your dog isn't very food orientated, just having some food and spraying it from side to side wherever your dog is, so there's just food moving around just to instigate that release of the mouth. That can be a very good management strategy whilst you build on your drop cues, because until that initial work is done, until that initial work is done with your drop cues, we don't want to be going in there with our hands into a scenario where your dog might start to feel really tense. So hopefully that's helpful, and I look forward to hearing about how well your dogs are letting go of things for you.